What's the worst bonus a job has ever given you? Story 1. A chocolate box with 5 small chocolates to thank us for the release of a product that doubled the company's revenue. Story 2. Ice cream sandwiches. We didn't get raises because it was a tough year and your department didn't increase revenue. We were R&D. Our competitors brought an ice cream truck and parked it next door and were giving out free ice cream and applications, and you could talk to their HR. They were specifically targeting our R&D team. Most of my coworkers went because it was a fancy ice cream truck they had seen but never bought from because it was expensive. My director freaked out and told his EA to go get ice cream and told people not to go. She came back with value brand ice cream sandwiches, and only like 6 boxes. There were 120 engineers in our department. I only remember the managers going over and getting them. About 2/3 of my team left within the next 6 months. Edit. As my most upvoted comment, I'm going to add, don't stay in that job. I did it for exactly as long as it took to vest and dipped. Best decision I ever made. They don't need you. Go forth and be happy, or at least get paid what you deserve. Story 3. I worked at a big auction house for people with lots of money, doing manual labor. For Christmas, we got a coupon for a cup of coffee from the coffee shop in the building. We had free coffee. I still have the coupon. It's a nice reminder of what I walked away from. Story 4. The biggest piece of cake. Worked at a company for 9 years and through some of its toughest times. I often worked unpaid overtime and went above and beyond. These were some of the highlights the boss pointed out while giving a recognition speech about me. He ended it with, most families save the biggest piece of chicken for the breadwinner. So keeping with that tradition, I'm offering you the biggest and first slice of cake. After being recognized in such a manner, I waited for about a month for an actual monetary bonus. Upon receiving nothing, I put in my notice citing the speech and lack of actual reward for my efforts. Edit. A lot of you are inquiring. Yes, I had a one-on-one shortly after cake time with the boss asking about a monetary bonus and was reminded that the cake was my bonus. I followed up 2 weeks later to the same response before being told to drop it. When I gave my resignation, he said it was shocked and in disbelief. Shortly after, I was offered 3 additional hours on my next paycheck to stay. Story 5. We had 11 workers quit on the spot because they wanted to have a meeting with the COO about their wages and schedules, but he shut them down. Office was scrambling to replace them. It was chaos. Later that week, they ordered pizza for everyone to show their appreciation for their workers. Pizza doesn't pay my bills. Story 6. I worked in sales for a major wood products manufacturer. I sold record-breaking volume to the tune of 51 million for my territory. Second place sold 12 million. I received a $100 bonus. The guy in second place received a Rolex. The CEO made a joke about it at the sales conference. Sometimes it's best to come in second place. I walked out, typed my 2-week notice, and started my own company as a direct competitor of my former employer. I'm still in business. They are not. Story 7. I worked for a small sales-based company. They were pushing hard for the first $1 million month and kept saying they would make it worth our while. We assumed a big bonus, a trip, a fancy steakhouse, something. When we finally hit it, we each got a bobblehead of one of the executives. We decided to trade them. The CEO was worth less than the CFO, and HR was worth the least. It became a big running joke until HR sends an email out saying we have to stop. Story 8. A Christmas card with signatures of the management team. It was Walmart. Why the hell do they think the associates would want a picture of the management team? We didn't even want to see the managers when we were working. Story 9. After 7 years of being a top 5 employee in my part of the company and no raises, I awarded myself a new company to work for. I was told there wasn't much of a budget for merit increases, but they had enough money to hire you two to play at a C-level brunch. Story 10. Not me, but years ago, I worked in a call center and can win awards from doing most calls in an hour. This one girl wore long skirts only. She won a ticket to wear jeans, but with her culture, she doesn't do that. She wore a jeans long skirt and tried turning it and was told it doesn't work on skirts. We tried explaining to them that she couldn't wear jeans and that the award given to her was meaningless since she couldn't use it. They basically told her that was a her problem. So she rebelled by having longer phone conversations. Story 11. At my old job before this one, I was promoted. They couldn't give me a raise because the economy, you know how it is. But they sure as hell could saddle me with twice as much work. I was there 3 years and never received a raise despite exemplary work. So when my coworkers were getting poached by a company we worked with, I threw my hat in the ring and was hired off my initial phone interview. When I handed them my notice, I made sure to say that my decision was based off the economy. You know how it is. Anyway, this coming September, I'll have been with this job 15 years, get annual raises, quarterly bonuses, a yearly bonus, and company stock. Know your worth and go somewhere where they value your worth. Story 12. Management had fucked up, and their solution was to mandate 90+ hour weeks from everyone for several months. We were told that management will make it right. They announced that the president and CEO is coming to personally thank us and give us a generous bonus. The day comes, and sure enough, the guy rolls up in his 300K Mercedes, flaps his gob hole for a bit, then has his assistant hand out envelopes with our bonus. The generous bonus? A $25 gift card to Walmart. Story 13. Not me, but a guy I worked with was central to a major technology implementation. At the end, they gave him a $5 gift certificate for Baskin-Robbins. His exact quote to me was, "It would have been better if they gave me nothing because now they told me my worth." He was still rightfully salty about it years later. Story 14. A $50 Amazon gift certificate. How could I feel bad about what was basically cash? I was part of a 4-person team that booked a $26 million software contract for my company. I wrote half of the proposal as software tech lead, and I cleaned up all of the text in the rest of the proposal. The other 3 were one level above me in the hierarchy, and one of them bought a Lexus with his bonus. Story 15. Not me, but a coworker. Every Christmas, a corp I used to work for had a Christmas raffle. There were 2-3 decent prizes. The rest was $5-10 garbage. Everyone got a ticket, and we gathered in the big conference room, and it started. I was sitting with my coworker, and finally his ticket number was called by the HR head, who tried with obvious fake sincerity to pump up each item like it was gold. He walks up and gets a fucking keychain fob that if you whistled, it would beep so you could find your car keys. He takes it, walks back to my table and says, "I'm a grown man. I've never lost my car keys in my life," tosses the thing on the table, and walks out the door. He came in the next week, cleared out his area, and walked the out and was never seen again. It was the final straw for him, LOL. Story 16. I released a product that I thought of, worked with multiple engineers to develop, sourced internationally, sold 87 malers in the first quarter at 68% profit margins, and I was quite literally asked, "What's next?" Not a single thank you, no bonus, nothing. I single-handedly saved the company from a margin crisis that would have tanked our stock, costing shareholders and the executives countless millions of dollars. All I got was a "what's next?" Waited 4 months for my 5-year contract with them to expire and told them all in the nicest way possible to go themselves. They scrambled to try and keep and I explained that I wasn't appreciated in a way I thought was worthy of the money I had made for the organization, and that I was going to find a company that would compensate me according to my value. I did. In the process, I went after them every chance I got and made a metric ton of money in the process. Greed will you over. Corporations still haven't figured it out. Story 17. I wasn't directly involved, I'm in IT, but we had hired about 100 data entry clerks for a big project that came in. When we completed the project, management brought in a bunch of sheet cakes to celebrate the completion of the project. While people still had blue icing cake in their mouths, the manager said, "Thank you all for the hard work and finishing ahead of schedule. But now that the contract is finished, you are all being let go." It was like that record player scratch sound went off and everyone froze to look at her. To this day, it gives me the willies to think about. I don't know the point of having a cake if you are firing everyone. Story 18. My 5-year service award was a cheap plastic travel mug with the org logo on it. It's the same one we give out for free at events. They put it in a paper bag and filled it up with fancy colored paper. The bag was worth more than the mug. There was a clear plastic garbage bin outside the venue where we had the event. I tossed it in that as I left. Everyone leaving the venue would have seen it, including the management. Story 19. A certificate congratulating me on my 20-wire work anniversary. Literally a piece of paper. My wife has a better story, though. The hospital she works at gave them a $50 gift card for a chain jewelry store. They then taxed her on it as income and deducted it from her paycheck. She doesn't buy or wear jewelry. The gift cost her money. And the hospital reported record profits that year due to all the layoffs. Story 20. They mailed us a package to show us how much they appreciated us. It included a pen that never worked, a speaker that requires an aux cable, and a branded hat from a sponsor. The next day, they announced everyone is being let go. Story 21. Fired everyone in the department but me. Told me I was getting 10% bonus immediately and then another bonus on top of that. Got an email, 0.25-cent raise applied. I was cleaning out my office 30 minutes later and handed in the biggest professional resignation letter I've ever written. Was told I would never be paid what I expected, blah, blah, blah. I now work literally 10 hours a week and make double what I did there. They still call asking how to handle things, and I laugh every time. I always tell them maybe ask legal or look at the policy. I'm not working there anymore. Quit calling LMAO. Story 22. They took me out of the role I applied for and was enjoying, put me in another role that required around-the-clock service to clients, and said, there's no pay bump, but this will help you take on more work. I took vacation for a week, came back, and put in my 2 weeks during training. Story 23. I work for a healthcare giant, record-breaking profits. My raise was 0.18 cents this year. They already don't pay us enough. That's just insulting. I'd rather have an extra PTO day. Yes, I should leave, but I work from home, and the job lets me flex my work hours. When you have a child that's so important to have, sticking it out a few more years. Story 24. Last year, I worked in an aged care where we did 3 COVID lockdowns and everyone was just exhausted by Christmas, and so we were all looking forward to our Christmas party that was planned, and then they decided to cancel it due to COVID, and then never reorganized a Christmas dinner or even gave us anything special for Christmas after. We got absolutely nothing. I then worked Christmas night, where usually a workplace would leave food and drinks in the staff room, as a thank you for working Christmas, but once again we got nothing. I quit soon after because it became clear they didn't care about their staff at all and only cared about money. Story 25. A BBQ lunch. There was food every Friday that was delivered towards the end of the day so that it covered both first and second shift. I was on second. We had been absolutely slammed with a huge project, and it fell disproportionately to nights for various reasons. To thank everyone for all of their hard work, the management hired a BBQ company to come in and cater lunch, which happened when we were not there. Due to the lunch, they canceled that week's Friday food. So to thank us for all of our hard work, they took away our food. Story 26. We had a lottery of sorts that in order to be entered, you had to be one of a few things. Have the highest numbers either on the floor or the forklifts, warehouse work, dumb. I was middle of the pack at best. Highest growth again, middle of the pack. Not call out sick at all that month. 3 to 5 people were picked at random for this one. I hated it there. I took at least 1 sick day per month, so that was not an option. I was never going to be in the running for any of these, so I didn't give a. On top of that, even if I did win one, the reward was a $50 gift card to a series of stores, none of which I shopped at. I did the maths. I could have worked for an extra 6 minutes a day and come away with the same reward, and I wouldn't have to work my ass off to do so. Story 27. What's the worst bonus a job has ever given you? I worked at a smallish company that implemented a program where each employee got $1 a month to send to other employees for a job well done. You could send someone the whole dollar or send 10 people 10 cents each, however you wanted to split it up, etc. This was laughable in itself, but then we found out that when you cashed out your rewards, it was also taxed, so you were really only handing out 70 cents. I had never seen such a cheap, embarrassingly stupid thing at work before. One of the other perks at this company was a free Dave Ramsey finance course. Story 28. Tickets to the local university football game. We worked at a college bookstore. Nearly all of us except management and the full-time lead cashier were students of the university. We could already get in free with our student IDs. The student section was a lot better than these nosebleed end zone seats he was handling out. Exceeded sales goals by almost 10%, and his special reward to us was something we all already got for free. Story 29. I worked for an evil empire healthcare that grossly underpays and overworks their employees. But it's one of the few major hospitals in my area, so a lot of people have to work for them, even though they don't like it. One time they pulled me back to say that they realized they were underpaying me compared to my coworkers with the same years of experience. But they didn't want me to tell anyone because not all of my coworkers were going to get this bonus. It was a nickel. My bonus was 5 cents. I told everyone because it was such a joke. It would have been so much better if it just showed up on my pay and they didn't tell me I was going to get this big bonus. Story 30. Okay, so here's the problem with mine. The bonus wasn't actually given to me. My work would do drawings for a car as a bonus for good service. Every year we managed to get this bonus opportunity. Well, they would always do the drawing extremely early in the morning. So they had the rule that regardless of if the person was there, they would still get the car, all except 1 year. My 1 year, my name was drawn for the car, and management, because they didn't like me, and I wasn't there, decided I wasn't getting it, and they were going to redraw. Now, if they had changed the rule, okay, but here's the thing. The next year they did the drawing, and guess what? The person wasn't there and still got the car. To say I was mad was an understatement. The only reason I knew about it was because a couple of my coworkers said something to me. Story 31. My work has these points which we can award each other for going above and beyond and be redeemed for gifts. I spent 2 years racking up 1,000 points and was the first in my company to reach 1,000 points. I redeemed all 1,000 points thinking I'd get a really great prize, and it was a small crocheted cupcake about 5 centimeters in size. 2 years of hard work and recognition for a $10 crocheted cupcake. I immediately threw it in the trash as it made me irrationally angry to look at. Story 32. A ring. After so many years of accident-free, they give you a ring, and every year after they install a diamond chip. I don't even wear work-branded clothes, much less jewelry branded with my work logo. I wish these companies would just start adding the cost of all the crap they think employees would want to the frickin' paychecks. In my 10 years here, I have yet to see anyone wear that damn ring. Story 33. When hired, I was told a Christmas bonus of 2%, 7% of my salary was common, which meant $1,600 to $5,600. 2 years in a row, I and everyone else got $100. The first year, it was a $100 bill, and the second year, it was a check for $93 because they weren't even classy enough to gross it up, so the check amount was $100. Story 34. My first job in IT, I was the solo guy for a whole bunch of different offices. I ran around like an idiot all the time trying to get everything done. When raise and bonus time came around, I got a letter thanking me for all my work and congratulating me on my 0% raise and 0% bonus. I went and talked to the HR lady who sent it out. I know she just did a mail merge, but that's one quick way of pissing off a bunch of people. Story 35. A Dunkin' gift card. That hadn't been set up, $0. Our boss had talked up bonuses. It was highly reminiscent of Michael Scott's Big Surprise. Clearly, she'd run by the grocery store on the way in, and I think just shoplifted the cards. None of them had anything. For months after that, we'd be headed out for a smoke and coffee break, which had become long and often since the gift card kerfuffle, and ask her if she wanted anything from Dunkin'. She'd just look mad and say, no thanks. Story 36. Manager came in all excited and passed out ice cream bars as our yearly bonus. A year later, we were all pulled into a boardroom and given substantial raises by a VP who had our manager sitting there apologizing that he basically had been screwing over staff to pad his own pockets to receive these massive bonuses himself. Story 37. An old employer used to give out turkeys for Thanksgiving, then realized it was a lot of work to have someone go out and get turkeys. So they gave us cash instead, estimated the value of a turkey to be $10. So for Thanksgiving, we would get a $10 bonus. That would be taxed at a crazy rate. So we got enough for a Snickers and a bottle of water at the company cafeteria. Story 38. A coupon for 10% off your grocery bill. Only redeemable on purchases of $100 of groceries or more. Also only redeemable at that chain. To be extra clear, that meant in order to redeem your $10 Christmas bonus, you needed to give your employer $100. Your Christmas bonus that year was $90. Story 39. 94% of my company went remote during COVID. I was part of the 6% deemed essential who thus still had to report to work in person. We still had to pay for our parking passes despite the fact the campus was closed and nobody else could access the property. For 2 years, we still had to get up, put on our uniforms and report to work, And we had to pay for parking to do it, while 94% of the company got to sit at home in their PJs and not pay for parking. To reward us for being essential, we received a gift card good for 5 free hot or cold beverages in the cafeteria, which was closed due to the pandemic. The coupon expired right before they reopened after the pandemic ended. When business resumed, we got to listen to the 94% complaining about how hard it was to have to come back to work and how they should get a discount on parking passes as they weren't used to having to pay for them like before. We got to listen to people complain about how adjusting to waking up before 10 a.m. was tough on their mental health. We got to listen to people catching back up again like they all got back from vacation. These people all make more than any of the 6% of us, by the way. Story 40. In the UK, the company I worked for, EE Mobile Phone Network, announced their yearly profit as some figure in the high millions. All the staff got a cookie. Not a particularly nice cookie at that. Also, one year we were giving SIM card readers to store phone numbers on. Pretty useless as they caused people's phones to crash and lock up. And the business ended up having to replace a few hundred members of staff's phones. Story 41. We all got gift cards to the restaurant we worked at. Here's the kicker. I was the GM, and the owner made me fire a server for applying the gift card value to a cash check and pocketing the money. She is vegan, and there were no vegan options on the menu. Story 42. This wasn't a bonus, but our union argued for us to get more pay by shortening our lunch breaks and taking away a holiday. What's worse is that union dues went up, so we actually made like 0.26 less a pay period or something like that. Story 43. At my old school district, we were one-to-one aides in self-contained classrooms. The district itself was well known as having an amazing spec ed program, and we had students from multiple countries whose parents moved there specifically for the program. It had plenty of funding, though we were not part of the union, being paid about 30% less than surrounding districts. No insurance. A typical day in my life was dealing with cleaning off of teenagers who were poorly potty trained, chasing after elopers, and, unfortunately, restraining physically violent students. One year, we were all brought into a special ed meeting after school, and we were all given a heart-shaped chocolate because we were the heart of the school, and not even like a full-on giant Valentine's Day heart of chocolate, but like one of those little Valentine's Day candies you get in a pack of 100 for $5. Story 44, a propeller beanie. We had just delivered a huge software project on time and on budget. There was a big party in the cafeteria for all the software developers. The VP, who was your typical MBA type, stood up, called for everybody's attention, and said he had a special gift for all of us. Then he went on to say that, to him, we were all just a bunch of propeller heads. At which point his assistants walked in with boxes of propeller beanies and handed one out to everybody. And that was our special gift. Story 45, a card. The company usually gave Christmas bonuses and gifts, but at my branch we had a Jehovah's Witness who kicked up a stink about receiving a Christmas gift and couldn't just accept it because she doesn't celebrate Christmas. So they opted out of giving our branch anything as to not single her out. Seriously, you Kayla, call it all a bonus and just be gracious and accept it, you twat. Story 46. Last year at my company's Christmas party, we gave everyone these old expired McDonald's coupons that my assistant had found when cleaning her parents' place. Some pretty surprised faces popped up when they opened them. LOL. Good times, good laughs, and a couple of good "what the fucks" followed by the proper envelopes directly after. Haha. I'm not sure why companies treat their employees like, I make the most money and so do my employees when they are happy and taken care of. Story 47 company I worked for called in department staff to help with overnight inventory count. We usually paid a company to do our cycle counts and audits, but the company I worked for was heading towards going out of business, and they decided to end their third-party contract to save money and just have us do it. 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., and most of us had to work a full shift, day of, starting at 9 a.m. We got it all finished and then worked a busy day, understaffed BC, a few people called in out of protest, while my boss said to keep up the pace and that he had a special gift for all our hard work. 6 p.m. finally comes around and we are all tired and beat, let alone having been up for nearly 24 hours straight by that point, and we head for the door. Our boss meets us at the exit and smugly hands us all a free soda. Story 48. I truly don't know how weird this is, and I don't really want to sound unappreciative because I did appreciate it at the time. But at a work Christmas dinner at a restaurant, our supervisor brought in like 15 Nalwerb's frozen turkeys for all employees. Was weird F, especially to walk out with. Story 49. A couple of years ago, I got a little $25 bonus gift card for extra work I had been doing, including lots of hours even though I was salaried exempt. No overtime. The gift card was taxed as a bonus, and on my subsequent paycheck, I had like an extra $19 taken out in tax. Story 50. I am a OR nurse. In 2021, the year after, but still kind of during COVID, for the holidays, my job at Nuvance Health gave us a voucher to the cafeteria, not to exceed $7, which is half a meal. After what I had been through, it stung more than nothing. Years prior, at a different hospital, I had gotten a really nice holiday party and some gift cards from the surgeons. It wasn't about $2, it was about the gesture. We bend over backwards for them to stay on schedule, make sure they have what they need, keeping the patients. It made me feel icky. I left that job, thank God. At least now I get nothing instead of a half-assed gesture. Story 51. This is a problem as old as time. I realize this was about 15 years ago, but my sister's company announced that unfortunately that year, there wasn't enough for bonuses. Everyone was super pissed. One of her jobs was to stuff the paychecks into envelopes when they came in. So on the next payday after the bonus announcement, she went to stuff the paychecks and noticed that all of the managers did in fact get bonuses. And not only that, but they were bigger than the bonuses they had received last year. She had been in that job for about 3 years at that point. She was so mad. She still to this day cannot believe she did what she did, that she stuffed all the regular paychecks and went and took the bonus checks and shredded them. As everyone came to collect their paychecks, this was also a while ago, and although direct deposit was a thing, not nearly everyone had it, managers would come back asking about their bonus checks, and she really loved reminding them that they were recently notified that they weren't giving out bonus checks this year. It didn't make a difference because the bonus checks were reprinted and distributed a few days later, but everyone else in the rank and file had got to witness how pissed off and vocally angry the managers were that they didn't get their bonus checks, and then they had to watch them come back to get them a few days later. Needless to say, employee morale went straight through the floor. My sister was one of many that left the company in the following months. Story 52. Our company had renewed a contract and gave bonus to the folks who had stayed on board. I received a honey-baked ham certificate when my team lead received an $8,000 bonus. Rumors ran around about who got what fast, and seems that all but 4 got ham stamps. The 4 who received actual money were not shy about weighing it around. Story 53. An annual Christmas potluck where the company very enthusiastically bragged about providing the meat, 3 kinds, and the employees were supposed to bring everything else. Everyone always said there was a long line for it, and by the time most of them got their 15 minutes or more, and it was all gone, they just have taken more than they were supposed to. We could also buy each other secret Santa gifts, which they enthusiastically pushed. Story 54. Around 12-15 years ago, I worked at McDonald's. I knew how to work all areas of the restaurant, was responsible for unloading the truck and doing inventory, and had several certifications to be able to fix things, like the ice cream machine. I approached management and told them that I deserved to be making a lot more than minimum wage, $7.05, because I was more valuable to them than the other employees with less responsibility. In response, I went from making minimum wage to minimum wage plus 15C. The cherry on top of all this was that the following week, the state minimum wage increased to $7.25, and they refused to add the 15C hours that I was given on top of that. Meanwhile, our owner pulled up in a brand new $300K car and said it was pocket change for him to buy it. Thankfully, I had a great paying internship that following summer and saved all of the money I made so that I didn't have to work at all my last year of college. They called me several times asking me to come back, or at least do part-time as they needed my knowledge experience, and would pay me $1 more, to which I told them to eat my ass. Story 55. I got a new job, and after 3 months, they gave me a Caribbean cruise for 2. It was worth about 4K 20 years ago. 7 years later, I was their best salesman. I had a large territory and worked 60 hours a week sometimes. They gave me a bonus of $1,600 that year. I was gone with a month. Story 56. I've gotten a $25 gift card for a local grocery store for Thanksgiving. 40 years ago, they used to bring in a truck full of frozen turkeys. And the same for Christmas. My worst raise was 0.25%. Almost told them to keep it. Almost forgot the thank you we received from our GM one time. He brought in a box of sausage McMuffins. Not sausage egg McMuffins, just sausage and cheese. And this was probably 15 years ago, so we weren't having an egg crisis like we have now. I also know that he was friends with the franchise owner, so if $120 of $1 sausage McMuffins wasn't insulting enough, I'm sure he got a discount on top of that. Story 57, the company had mugs with the company logo printed on them for marketing giveaways at trade fairs or similar. Some of these mugs had been standing in the sunlight for too long, and the print was starting to fade. The whole team got one of these mugs, a pencil with the company name on it, and a notepad as a bonus for Christmas. But only if you had been with the company for at least 6 months. The newbies didn't get anything. Story 58. In nursing school, I was a nurse aides in the hospital. An old man with a stroke who couldn't move, hadn't had a shave in days. I shaved his face. His wife was so happy, she gave me a $20 tip. I refused several times before she put it in my pocket and left. So I turned it into the hospital nursing supervisor because I was concerned about the ethics. Next weekend, I got a thank you card from the hospital for providing great care and a $10 coffee shop gift card. They closed the following Monday. They pocketed my $20 and gave me a $10 gift card to a closed coffee shop. Story 59. I started my career as a tutor at a college. I was still training for the first year. So when Ofsted came, they would not be inspecting me as I was not fully qualified. Yet the director decided it was my job to do all the paperwork. A lot of these tutors were performing arts charm creatives who had no idea how to use a computer. Anyways, I come in for free over 2 weekends, work crazy hours, create, print, put into folders, label folders, and explain to the actual tutors what I had done. Even put in place processes for performance reviews of the pupils. Crazy workload. Ofsted came and went and got a really good score with a lot focused on the paperwork and the review process. I was expecting to at least get paid for my extra time, but no. Fish and chips, one portion, given to me by the director 15 minutes before my next lesson. Story 60. We had 2 different department heads promise to order pizza for my specific team at a job I worked at 5 years ago. One of the department heads forgot to order pizza. The other one sent us a small pizza 3 hours after our lunch ended to be split between 5 people. Story 61. Everyone I was working with for a year and a half got profit sharing of $2,500. I got $200. When I questioned my manager, I was told that I was technically a part-time worker for a week in January, although I was working full-time hours. So I was entitled to the part-time profit sharing because I hadn't been full-time for the entire calendar year. I was quite upset. The next day, the manager handed me an envelope and told me not to tell anyone. I opened the envelope in my car, and it was a coupon for $20 for a meat shop. Story 62, not mine. For the last few years at a Montessori school, the head teachers came to expect and count on a bonus equal to roughly a 2-week period. They held the Christmas party in January this year, normally the beginning of December, where they passed them out. $20 Starbucks card, definitely the most scummy thing I've seen. Story 63. When we actually had a bonus, which often not, the company I was with gave me a $600 bonus, and after taxes was maybe $300. Sure, it's better than nothing, all while I hear friends in banking industry clear 5-figure bonus. It was quite humbling. Story 64, ran IT solo for a manufacturing company that went from a single old HP server we got off Craigslist and 5 people, to a multi-warehouse, international, multi-location operation with a dozen or so servers, printers, digital phones, computers, laptops, and also did all the web development, email, free PBX, hardware and software sourcing. And I was denied my last 3 requests for pay raises after delivering major time-saving and profit-turning advances in the company. I was young and it had been my first job out of college. I was green and they took advantage of me until my mental health deteriorated to the point where I was falling asleep at work due to the stress of not being able to get a good night's sleep at night. In hindsight, they did everything in their power to get rid of me. I just toughed it out far longer than they anticipated. Story 65, I worked in IT. I was awarded multiple times for saving the company millions. and also being their best IT employee. I ate 36 hours in a pay period because they wouldn't approve overtime, and my boss, that wanted to compensate me, couldn't, called me on a Saturday and said, "I have a surprise for you and all your hard work. Can you come into the office?" I said sure, and when I got there, he sent me about 20 high-priority tickets that no one else knew how to do on the IT team and said, "Surprise! This is for all your hard work, more work." Now, obviously, that's what the email said. He didn't say that to me directly because he was already home, LOL.